Disney's new streaming service will be called Disney Plus. That's the headline on this week's Movie Burner News. And joining us as always is John, and we knew this was coming, John. Yes. Disney's streaming service, but now it has got a title. It's simply Disney Plus.
Yes, it's a very simple title. It's very clean. It's very aesthetically pleasing, I'm sure, when it comes to making a logo too. It'll be simple. I don't think we've got a logo yet, but I'm very excited about this new, Stephen. We're starting to get more and more information dropping about this streaming service. I think we're just about a year away now, although we've not got any definitive timeline or release date for when it's going to come into service. It could be less than a year. Yeah. I don't know. I hope it is. But I think it'll be around about November. I think most of the analysts and stuff like that and people that know what they're talking about are suggesting it's going to be late 2019. Apparently this name is going to align with the service ESPN Plus, which is another streaming platform which has been recently announced and launched, I should say, by the Disney-owned sports giant. And this apparently is ending informal nicknames around Hollywood that had included such shorthand as Disneyflix, which is terrible.
Yeah, I don't like
There's no way, man, it could ever have been Disneyflix. This is much better. What excites me more, though, other than the name, and the name's cool, but is the fact that they're saying the service will be very elegant and very brand-centric. And you need that because Disney have got their hands on some of the biggest brands in the industry, the likes of Marvel, Star Wars, just Disney in general. Yeah. It's an iconic brand. But even National Geographic, Stephen, I didn't know they had National Geographic. Yeah. Apparently this is coming over from the Fox acquisition. So all things are pointing to this being very, very good indeed. I mean, I can't wait. I think you were the one that touched on it. I didn't really notice it in the article. Yeah. But you touched upon the way it's going to structure. I'll let you in on what your thoughts are on that. I like the way they're planning on structuring this. It's going to be similar to the different categories of genres you get in Netflix. Yeah. But different.
I think it's going to be better, John, because a lot of people do have a problem with the interface that is Netflix. A lot of films are really buried, deep down in that database of Netflix, and it's one of those things that you can't really fault Netflix for, because what else can you do? You've got so much content on there, especially when you're dealing with this. It's an application you'll get on your TV, and you can only have so much on that home screen. You don't want to clutter it, very much like a website. And that's why you've got the little search function. You think of a film, you try and do a search. Has Netflix got it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but they'll let you know. And but I do like the way that this is structured, this interface from Disney Plus. I think it's 5 contents or something like that in regards to, they're going to have a Disney section, which I believe will probably be all the classic Disney stuff, all those classic movies and classic cartoons and stuff like that. You've got Pixar as well, Star Wars, as you mentioned, Marvel, and as you said, National Geographic. I think as well it's going to be probably about a year away, because I know that the Marvel Netflix stuff is coming to an end. That deal finishes at the tail end of 2019 anyway. I think that's why Netflix are dropping the likes of Luke Cage and Iron Fist as well. I think because they don't have enough time to wrap up all these stories. Those characters will still appear, and they're the likes of Jessica Jones and Daredevil, which is probably the best 2 series out of that little universe that they created a few years back. Certainly that's my 2 favourite characters as well, Jessica Jones and Daredevil. And they will crop up, because I think we'll probably get another round of the Defenders as well. I think that was an okay series as well. It was a mini-series within the series. Yeah. And I think once they've wrapped up all those stories, I think Disney might start afresh. I would like to see those actors carry on the roles, but I think once the deal's done, they might just start afresh after that. But perhaps we might see these characters turning up in the MCU. I don't know. Yeah. It was always hinted that they were part of the same world, although it wasn't directly admitted by Marvel or Disney or whoever, or Netflix. It was just referred to in the television series. Certainly the MCU never referred to Matt Murdock or anything like that. I don't think that, he was a very small time, or Foggy, yeah. But that's just the way it goes. But I'm looking forward to this streaming service. It's certainly one that I'm going to, I'll be subscribing to this, especially when they're already talking about the television series that are going to be coming. We already talked about The Mandalorian the other week there. Yes. Loki from the MCU, he's getting his own television series as well. And you know, the news that's just dropped, which we will go into more detail in regards to Diego Luna's Cassian Andor is getting his own television series as well. We'll go into that more on the Force Friday show, John, later this week, but it's all looking good.
Yeah, and as I did say, with this news, there's a whole host of other news coming out. They're starting to drop more and more information about what we're going to see in this in terms of unique shows and content coming to this new streaming service. That Cassian Andor one's got me very excited. That alongside The Mandalorian, it's going to be epic.
Yep.
I've always wanted to see Star Wars going into the TV side of things. It's obviously long hinted that George Lucas wanted to do his own TV show back in the day. Over 100 episodes or something of content written out for it, scripts and stuff, but it just never seemed to materialise. Now that the Star Wars IP or brand name is under a big umbrella company such as Disney, they've got the wealth and the power to put this into place, into motion. So that is amazing. Actually, in terms of what he says, I mean, I think it's clear that the Netflix Marvel stuff, they're slowly relinquishing control of that back to Disney. They've not pulled, but they've cancelled Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I think Daredevil and Jessica Jones will be next to Punisher. They will all come over to the new Disney streaming service at one point or the other. Whether they recast them, I'm not sure. I probably would, even though I like the current incarnations of the characters. Certainly John Bernthald's Punisher is amazing. But I think they would recast them just so they could coincide with maybe the MCU and maybe doing something that can interconnect with that bigger, grander universe that they've got. Certainly when you're producing a Loki TV show to come onto this new service as well, it'd be great to have something that's just fresh and new and it can all interconnect in a way it's organic, instead of having these characters separate. And the only real connection you've got is things like a guy trying to sell Luke Cage a DVD on the street of the event, the best view you can get and stuff like that. They can do it better, and I'm sure they would. It'd be sad to see the loss of some of the people that are playing him. I can't recall who plays Matt Murdock, but he's a good actor. He's very good at it. Daredevil's incredible. Charlie, is that what his name is? Cox, yeah. So he's a great actor. So it'd be sad to see him go. Even Foggy, he's a cracking actor as well. That dude. It'd be sad to see it go, but I think it will happen. But in terms of this news, I find it very interesting. I actually didn't realise that Disney had taken control of Hulu as well via the Fox acquisition. And they say it's going to be a triumvirate of streaming services. Obviously, ESPN Plus is going to handle all of the sports side. I think they've got the rights to the NFL and stuff like that. Certain NFL games, it may be Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. So they are going to focus on the sports side. Hulu is going to focus on premium content from entities like FX and Fox Searchlight and stuff. So you're going to get premium films like The Shape of Water and stuff popping up on there. You're going to have the ESPN Plus doing the sports, and then you're going to have this Disney Plus catering to all of the TV side and just the more brand names like Marvel and stuff, the popular stuff. It's not like, I don't want to say it's not premium content, but it's different. It's more mainstream. It's more catering to the larger populace. Things like, as you did say, Marvel, Pixar. I just can't wait to see these all come under the one umbrella, under one service where you can go on and get access to it all. Even Disney, as you did say, it'd be the classic cartoons, but you've got all of these new reworkings like the new Aladdin film, The Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, which from a few years ago, which I thought was a really good film as well, a really good remaking. That kind of a kick-started that off for me anyway, and I'm successfully reimagining the old classic cartoon shows, or films, sorry. Marvel, you know what you're getting with Marvel, you're getting all those films, these great films and stuff. National Geographic's probably another one that gets me excited, but much like you, Stephen, I'm giving it away here. I will definitely be subscribing to this when it comes over. I just hope it doesn't get curtailed with Rupert Murdoch and obviously the monopoly he has over TV and stuff over here in terms of rights with Sky. He certainly did it with Netflix. He's throttled it. We don't get anywhere near as much good content as compatriots over in the United States do, but hopefully with Disney acquiring Fox, they've maybe got it written into the contract or something as part of the deal that they can come over here and just bring it all and give us the exact same content as the United States gets. Either way though, I'm going to be on board. For Star Wars alone, you add in all these other things, Pixar, Marvel, the new Loki series, Cassian Andor, and I'm well in there. So I cannot wait. But we're going to move on to a similar topic, Stephen. Well, it's not similar, no, but it's kind of interconnected. Yeah. But we're talking about the Avengers to some degree, but we're talking about Marvel and Disney. And this one is all about Avengers 4. Runtime is currently sitting at 3 hours. This was confirmed by Joe Russo in a question and answer live stream question and answer interview. I don't know who it was with, but he's confirmed that it's currently standing at a gargantuan 3-hour running time. He goes in and talks about the whole process of that just now. I think he was opening a new bar or something like that, which is just mind-boggling to me. He's actually opening bars up in Los Angeles while he's editing a massive blockbuster flick such as Avengers 4. This guy's got his finger in many pies, and he's just succeeding in life in general. But look, what do I make of this? I don't know. Obviously, Infinity War was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, so I don't know if that really means anything. Is it going to stay at 3 hours? He even says that it's something they're currently sitting at right now. We'll see if that holds.
Yeah.
He then goes on to say that they'll still get more than 3,000 FX shots in the film to really deal with.
Yeah.
Which, as I says to you, it's just mind-boggling to me as well. We're about 5 months away from this film releasing, and they've still got all that work to do. It's just incredible the job these guys do.
Yeah,
they're only
halfway through the editing process as well, John. So
it's astonishing.
Well, what's more astonishing is that they're only halfway through the editing process, and he's coming out with that.
Yeah.
I don't doubt the guy for a minute. I think they've got hours of work there to get through anyway.
Yeah.
But
hours upon hours upon hours.
3 hours running time.
I'd love to see it.
I was going to just ask you that, John. How do you feel about that? But I think that's a no-brainer, certainly for myself as well. Probably have to get up maybe halfway through it just for a little walk around the theatre in the dark, just to stretch my legs. But I don't mind that at all, because I think that Avengers 3, those 2 hours and 40 minutes flew in for me, because I didn't want it to end. Unfortunately, it's got to. But give me 3 hours any day. I would take Star Wars films at 3 hours running time as well. I think only a handful of films in the history of cinema are beyond that sort of running time anyway. The greats like Chariots of Fire, etc. Ben-Hur, exactly.
There was some war film in a submarine. It was about 5 hours long. I can't remember its name. I can't remember.
But going back maybe just about 10 years ago, when the likes of Grindhouse came out, there was a big debate about how audience members can't sit for that length of time. I think that was when they put the two films together, Death Proof and Planet Terror, the Robert Rodriguez film, and they backed down and split the films up. I thought that kind of killed the sort of what they were going for, Tarantino and Rodriguez. I think they were trying to recapture those exploitation films of the 1970s, where you had the sort of Saturday matinee where you had one film, one horror film, you had the series of trailers that were all sort of cheesy, and then you come into seeing the second horror film in that day, and there was a kind of tradition, certainly more in America than it was here in the UK. But just getting back to this running time, John, it doesn't really bother me. I think a lot of audience members, certainly Marvel fans, don't mind that. I think, especially with what they're dealing with as well, this is going to be tying up a lot of storylines. Probably going to see a few of our heroes dying as well. Yes. So you don't want to cut down the running time on those moments. You don't want to really scrimp and save on time when there's key moments, especially when you've invested a decade of storytelling with these characters. It's going to be an epic film anyway. But listen, it's music to my ears. 3 hours of one film, Infinity War, or Part 2, whatever they want to call it. I don't care. I'm on board. Well,
funnily enough, they were talking about the title as well. That he was apparently teasing fans and trolling fans with two separate fake technical errors that prevented them from revealing it. But yeah, I completely agree with you, Stephen. 3 hours is right up my street. I would happily go and watch a 3 hour Avenger film. This one more than any other too, because it is a culmination of 10 years of work. I says that about Infinity War, but this is kind of that on steroids.
Yeah.
It's an end to the phase in the MCU, the current phase 3, and it's also an end to some of the characters we've loved for the over 10 years now. So they can't skimp in time. If it's going to be 3 hours long, then so be it. If it means we're going to get the best story we can possibly get, and it all meshes in and it's all organic in the way it flows, the tone and the pacing and stuff like that works, and we get to see all these characters getting the equal share of screen time and getting to go out the way they deserve to go out. The likes of, I believe Iron Man's going to die for sure. Captain America is either going to die or he's going to walk off into the sunset and hand the mantle over to Bucky. So if this means it has to be 3 hours long, then I'm well up for it. I don't care. I can sit for 3 hours. As long as it's a nice comfy seat, then I'm more than happy. I don't even need to get up and stand in the middle of it, Stephen. I'll happily sit But look, it's all speculation just now. They're editing. They've got a lot of editing still to do. Alan Silvestri's still to come in and do his scoring work. Yeah, I'm really glad to see that too. Incidentally, he actually says the stakes are the highest they've ever been for an Avengers film. So more so than ever, that tells you again, if it has to be 3 hours long, with the stakes so high, then so be it. But I'm going to move on, Stephen, to the next topic, which is all about Harrison Ford not wanting Chris Pratt to replace him as Indiana Jones. Now, this is very tongue-in-cheek. I watched the short little interview. I don't know where the hell he was in this interview, but he was at some event, some foundation event. But he's looking very good as Harrison. I commented on that incredible hairdo. He's looking very thick and voluptuous again. He was looking a little bit thin during the promotion of The Force Awakens, but his hair back, it's thick. He's sporting an incredible goatee, and he's not lost his dry sense of humour, his wit and his ability to just drop a line in there and then walk off without really giving us a hint at whether he's been serious or not. He says it's him or me, I think, to the interview, and then he walks away. Look, I didn't even know that Chris Pratt had been getting linked with the role of Indiana Jones. I don't know why that would be happening. I don't know how it would work. The hint in this article that it may be that they're going to utilise flashbacks. We're going to have a bookended version of the character, or of the older one played by Harrison Ford. Use of flashbacks being played by Chris Pratt. I don't see any point to that now when you've got that amazing technology. Yeah,
it's a bit like Days of Future Past, where they intermingled the sort of older versions of the characters. True, it's a neat way of sort of conditioning the audience into accepting the new actors playing these roles, and I get that. It's been done before though, with River Phoenix, who played the young Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, which I think that was being set up for River Phoenix playing Indiana Jones at some point, whether it been film or television, I'm not sure. I think the Indiana Jones Chronicles certainly. But Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones really does get the mind working. Can I imagine him playing the role? I can't imagine him playing the younger version, because I think Chris Pratt is probably about age maybe Harrison Ford was when they first played Indiana Jones back in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I might be wrong, but it must be around about that time, so I don't know how that worked. Alden Ehrenreich, possibly. He certainly does a good Harrison Ford anyway, as we saw in Solo. But I think it's all tongue-in-cheek with Harrison Ford anyway. I remember he came on behind the set of, I think Alden Ehrenreich was having a one-to-one interview with someone, and the first thing he said to Alden was, get out of my chair, or something like that. That's my chair. You know, Harrison Ford's got a great sense of humour. If you're not familiar with him, I think you'd probably be offended by him. But that's just the way he is. He's got a very dry sense of humour, very quick as well. I like his personality. A lot of people think he's a bit of a grump. I think he's a serious man with a good sense of humour, but at the same time, I think he plays on the sort of myth of being the grumpy old man at times. Certainly when you see him on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, he plays that down to a T. We saw it, as you said, during the promotion of The Force Awakens. I think he was really enjoying himself during that run. When Indiana Jones 5 finally drops and he's out there on the road promoting that film, I think we're going to see the same similar humour from the great man himself again. But I don't think this has really got any legs on it, this story, to be honest with you, John. I know that a lot of people were thinking that could have been the approach to have some kind of flashbacks to introduce a younger version. Certainly would work if they wanted it to, but I don't think they will go down that road. Yeah, well, funnily enough, I'll give you the answer, Stephen. He says, I think of a similar age. Chris Pratt is actually 39. Yeah. Harrison Ford was 39 in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, so the exact same age. Yeah. So he can't play a younger. Well, he could. I mean, he could make it look like he's younger, but I don't think it would work. I don't really want to see the Indiana Jones franchise continuing after this. I think it's done its job. It's done, really. It's been done to the death. Have this be the end of the saga, or the end of the story. Have Harrison Ford come in to play the character one last time and then just end it. Walk away. It's not like Star Wars. I don't think there's much room for expanding it out and doing something new with it. The stories have been done. The best stories were in the 80s. It's just been ever diminishing returns since then. That last one, the Crystal of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or whatever the hell it was terrible, terrible film. And look, I can't wait to see Harrison Ford coming back as a character one last time. Hopefully he does a better job and he goes out in a high. But I don't want to see Chris Pratt playing him. I really don't. Chris Pratt for me is Star-Lord,
He's the guy from Jurassic Park now, or Jurassic World. Just stick to those franchises and leave Indiana Jones alone. Please just leave it alone. But I'm going to move on. And so are you, I believe,
Yes,
Stephen,
yes,
to the next topic, and it's all about Outlaw King. Apparently the new cut of Outlaw King is an improvement, but the Netflix epic still drags. This is the opinion of Adam Chitwood on Collider. It's an opinion that I can't possibly agree or disagree with, because I've not seen the full version or the extended version from the Toronto Film Festival, but I have seen the now cut version on Netflix. I don't think it drags at all, but hey ho, I'm not comparing it to the longer film. But it doesn't drag.
No, I mean, and based on this article, John, it does sort of give us some insight onto what we would have saw if they didn't cut it. Certainly in regards to the William Wallace character, which we would have saw a bit more of. I'm kind of glad they didn't. We already covered that in Braveheart. What I did like about the portrayal of Robert the Bruce in this movie is that he's not portrayed in the same way as he was in Braveheart. This is more historically accurate. I'm not saying it's identical. I think there was a lot of things that had to be crammed in for the running time. And the other reason was it was just an excuse for us to really talk about the film. We both saw it. Our editor-in-chief Kevin, he went along to the premiere a couple of weeks ago in Glasgow. We saw this on the Netflix premiere on last Friday, and I think it's fair to say both of us really enjoyed this movie. It's to put it into context, John, it's a Netflix original film. It's going to have a certain level of budget. That was one of the things that I was probably going into this with concerns with, because it's such a historical storyline. Certainly because we're Scottish, we're going to be very precious over the story as well and get really emotional over it as well. I'm trying to remove my emotions away from it in that sense, because there was times when you watch films like this and you do get kind of worked up about it. The blood boils, but you know, at the end of the day, I think Chris Pine as Robert the Bruce was fantastic. I think his accent was good. It wasn't Groundkeeper Willie. It wasn't a Mike Myers Shrek impression. It certainly wasn't a Mel Gibson effort either. I think it had it down to a T. He kept it very minimum. I thought the cast was really good. I think Florence Pugh, I think that's the lady's name. I think she's got a great future ahead of her. I think she was she played some of the you know, her part in the movie was very key to Robert the Bruce's way of thinking, and some of his decisions impacted that character, Elizabeth de Burr, I think that was character's name. And I think Florence Pugh was probably the standout performance. I expected Chris Pine to do a good job anyway, but certainly the actress, I saw her in another movie which I'm going to review very shortly. Her accent kind of flits between English and Scottish at times. I think she is English born, but I think the character she played in this was very well portrayed, and I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson was great as well. He was an absolute madman in this film. I think that really livened the performances up, certainly livened the storyline up as well for his part in it as well. He certainly got a lot of satisfaction, I think, that character on his revenge. But I think overall, the cinematography, John, as well, I thought that was very well done. It was, it really does show this country up for what it should be getting promoted for. It's absolutely stunning, some of the shots, some of those wide shots when you see them travelling through the mountains. I think it was Glencoe they were at. But I did a little bit of research to see all the locations they were in. They did do some stuff here in Glasgow. A lot of it in Stirling, certainly in Dooncastle, that kind of area as well, up in Glencoe, as I said, the Isle of Islay. It was all stunning scenery. Those beaches as well you mentioned, John, but I'll let you in with your thoughts on the film as well. Certainly, just before I pass it over to you though, John, I wouldn't mind seeing the full-length version of this now. I've seen the Netflix version of it. It's not really going to change my mind on how I feel about the film or anything like that. I think, as well as the William Wallace thing, it was cut down I think they'd made the right decision there. Some extended battle scenes were cut down as well. I think they shaved about 20 minutes off it. I don't think it was going to really change the storyline. Possibly a little bit of the pacing would have been changed, but I disagree with this article in regards to it being a bit choppy, slow to start with. I think it was more of a build-up. I wouldn't say it was exactly slow, that first half of the movie. I quite liked that introduction shot, that 9-minute tracking shot, John. I spotted it right away, and I said to my wife, if you noticed, that shot, it's just one continuous shot. It was brilliantly done, and it kind of gave you an idea of the surroundings and the characters within this village and what they were all about. And the other thing I liked was the way they went right into the story.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't think the film was slow to start at all. I actually thought the opposite. It was a little bit choppy because you had to jump and speed things up just to get to the moment where Robert the Bruce is obviously fighting to be the king. He's having to take out that guy, John... what is his name? I can't remember what his second name is, but he famously assassinates him in the chapel to obviously then start the independence wars again against Edward I, obviously Edward Longshanks. So I didn't think it was slow to start at all. I thought it was quite quick. They jumped and jumped. It reminded me almost of Rogue One, the way it was jumping. Yeah. Obviously you meet Robert the Bruce, we meet his father, we meet the Lords taking the knee, we meet Edward, we meet his young son, or his son, his idiot son, Edward II, who was just a complete clown of a man in real life and in this film. Incompetent. Wasn't much like his father or anybody for that matter. And then it just ploughs right through. We see the death of Robert the Bruce's dad. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. Robert the Bruce as well, there you go. Clearly I know my history. But he dies, and then we're obviously thrust into just the perspective of Robert the Bruce trying to garner support from all these treacherous lords and people that, I say treacherous, he did murder a guy in a chapel who had a lot of connections, and they were quite rightly aggrieved and wanted to kill him and his band of travellers. But I thought it was a great story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. I thought the cinematography was incredible, absolutely stunning in parts. I loved the climatic battle, the Battle of Loudon Hill. That was beautiful, the way the ingenuity. You showed this guy, he's been fighting a guerrilla war against the English, hiding in the hills and hiding in the woods, coming out and attacking them one by one, slowly regaining all the castles in Scotland. And that just showed you the ingenuity of the man and the people he had amassed around about him. The fact that they knew the lay of the land, they knew the boggy nature of the land, and they utilised it to the maximum to bring down the English cavalry and stuff like that. So that was great. To suggest that in the longer version that Robert the Bruce was more of an enigmatic figure, he was flitting in and out of the shadows. Well, I mean, I don't know what to make of that. I completely agree with you about William Wallace. I wouldn't have put him in this film. You says that we've seen enough of him with that arm, the quartered section of his body on the pillar, and I completely agree. This isn't his story. That was done in Braveheart. This was the story of Robert the Bruce, and just the early beginning of his fight to reclaim Scottish independence. In terms of Florence Pugh, I thought her character was very good as well. She was interesting. She provided a sort of romantic side, but in a way maybe not, because at the start she was quite subdued, quite meek, as he does say in this article. And then she develops into a bit of a fierce character who's openly revolting against Edward II and stuff like that. I liked the performance of Stephen Dillon as Edward I. I thought he was very, very good. I remember him as Stannis Baratheon. He brought a completely different performance to the table as opposed to what we've seen in Braveheart of that character. It was more true to life. Obviously he doesn't die at the same time as William Wallace. He lived quite a few years after that. Chris Pine wasn't annoyed by his accent at all. I was dreading watching it because I thought he'd have butchered it, but he was actually okay. And I did say to you, David Mackenzie's a director I've enjoyed for a number of years. Hell or High Water was one of my favourite films in the last few years. He's always got something about the dialogue in these films, in his films I should say. They're always punchy, they're always organic the way they flow, and it was much the same in this. I liked the back and forth between the Tony Curran character, I think it was Angus, and obviously Robert the Bruce. They were quite close. I liked the back and forth between them. The only thing I'd add is Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I thought he was my standout performer. Florence Pugh was probably standout performance in terms of the film, but just in terms of memorability, the character of John Douglas, he was just deranged. It reminded me of the Irish guy from Braveheart. An absolutely crazed lunatic. He had some great moments fighting to reclaim his home and his name and his title. And the real highlights for that character for me were the moment where he says, "Throw the bastards in the well, poison it, I used to drink from this water." And then at the end, he's screaming, absolutely screaming at a guy in the middle of a battle, "What is my name?" The guy says, "John Douglas" or Douglas, and he says, I can't remember what he replies, but it was amazing. They were the two standouts. The cinematography in that final battle as well was epic. I thought it flowed okay. I didn't think it dragged at all. I enjoyed it more than this guy. He gave it a C+. I'd give it a B. I thought this is a film that's going to connect more with Scottish people.
Yeah, exactly, John. I think one of the sort of most emotional parts of the movie was that young boy that carried the crown. I think that was very sad. I can't remember the boy's name or the character's name, but it's quite an emotional moment in the movie.
The other thing I'll add, Stephen, is the fact that you could read through the character lists. I mean, I was watching this on Netflix, looking in IMDb, all the character names you can copy and paste into Google. You've got a whole host of historical backgrounds. So the fact that it was so true, you didn't have many made-up characters. They were all real living people. Yeah, that was great.
One thing, I don't know if you know about this, John, but this is quite interesting news as well, is that Angus McFadden, who played Robert the Bruce in Braveheart, is back as Robert the Bruce in a new movie that's coming out next year. He's reprising the role, and although the film has been reported to be a sequel to Braveheart, the film is considered to be more of a spin-off to Braveheart, as the story does not revolve around William Wallace, who died at the end of the 1995 film, but focuses more on Robert the Bruce's years after William Wallace's execution. We might see a lot of mirroring here in this movie as well, but we're not talking about that film. But
hopefully they do a better job of portraying the character, because he wasn't a coward, he wasn't a traitor, he was the guy that got his independence.
They combined the Robert Bruce Senior character with Robert the Bruce in Braveheart, which I think was a bit of a scandal, to be honest with you, to portray that character in such a way. I grew up, I always remember going to Dunfermline as a young boy with my grandfather, and he took me to Dunfermline Abbey, I think it's called, and if you ever look at the spires within the Abbey, you'll actually see these big letters that says King Robert the Bruce on the four sides of the Abbey. It's quite impressive to look at, and certainly does get you intrigued to read more into these historical characters from our country. But you're right, John, I think this will appeal more to your Scottish audience because of the emotional attachment that we've got to these characters and the history behind them as well. Yeah, and you look on Twitter and the feedback's absolutely positive from Scottish people, so they've done a good job. And we're going to move on, Stephen, to the final part of the show, and it's all about the poll of the week. This week's question was a fairly simple one, as they always are, as I say every week. I seem to repeat myself. It was all about Stanley Kubrick this week, and we asked which one of these 4 Stanley Kubrick releases is the best. And the 4 films were Doctor Strangelove. I'm not going to go through the whole title because it goes on forever. A Clockwork Orange, The Shining, and 2001: A Space Odyssey. The Shining won this poll with 42% of a share of the vote. 12% went to Doctor Strangelove, 18% to A Clockwork Orange, and 28% to 2001: A Space Odyssey. This poll, incidentally, got 543 votes. So once again, thank you to everyone who voted on it. Now, in terms of who won this poll, the film that won this poll, I completely agree that with The Shining winning it. You can't really pick decisively between any of Stanley Kubrick's films. He had 13 releases, and any one of them could have graced this poll. Every single one of the films are really genre-defining films. They're all amazing satirical pieces that are filled to the brim with powerful themes, and they just, even in today's society, they still ring true. Doctor Strangelove could be all about Trump, and just the nuclear warmongering that we're still getting to this day, the sabre rattling between Russia, China, North Korea, still very much in prominence in today's politics. But The Shining, for me, always deserved to win this. It's just iconic. It's my all-time favourite horror film. I'm just going back to Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, from 1964, John. I saw this movie with my grandfather years and years ago because he was a big Peter Sellers fan, and there's only a film that has came close to its sort of satirical humour, and that was the film The Death of Stalin, which I watched I think at the beginning of this year. Peter Sellers is an absolute legend. He will always be connected to the Inspector Clouseau character, the Pink Panther movies and stuff like that, but he was such a funny guy, and he's a much missed character as well in regards to British humour. He was one of the sort of early pioneers in that kind of comedy sketch, along with the likes of Spike Milligan and Harry Seacombe. But in this movie, he's absolutely fantastic, an absolute legend of a guy. A Clockwork Orange, it's one of those just bizarre films. You know, Malcolm McDowell, I think his character in this movie is, I think, everyone that loves this film likes to dress up as him at Halloween. It's just one of these films that you know, will long live in the memory of anyone who is a Stanley Kubrick fanatic. You know, and as you said, these movies as well, most of them don't drop it below that sort of rating, 8 out of 10. Yep. That's the sheer quality of this director. The Shining, we spoke about this in a number of shows. I'm actually looking at that tweet there that came in as one of the responses. It's a kind of a animated, it's actually creeping me out, John. It's a GIF, yeah. It's the eyes are moving and the fingers are charting the door. It's really creepy, as if Jack Nicholson's face wasn't creepy enough in that movie. That's really just took it to another level. Ready Player One paid homage to this film as well. It's such a you know, an iconic moment in movie history, this film, and it's going to be very interesting to see this sort of sequel that Ewan McGregor's going to be involved in, that's coming out next year as well. 2001 A Space Odyssey getting 28%. I can understand that being in second place. That's just my opinion. It's an absolute game changer, and we'd just like to thank this got over, I think, 500 votes, John, in its final result. It was a great response from everyone on Twitter. We'd just like to thank everyone participating in the poll. Yeah,
I mean, final thing I'll add to all of these films, Stephen, 2001 A Space Odyssey, it was that great, that grand in its scale and its visual elements that many people to this day still think Stanley Kubrick helped hoax the moon landings. That was how good the visuals were for their time, an utterly epic film. You look at all the different genres as well: fantasy, science fiction, mystery, psychological horror, drama, mystery, and then you've got a comedy, science fiction. It does it all, and it does it well in every single genre. The Shining, though, one of my all-time favourite films. The way it utilised space, changing the layout of a hotel and stuff like that. It was like a TARDIS in many ways. It was huge on the inside, not so big on the outside. Amazing performances across the board in all of these films. But Jack Nicholson as, well, Jack, just an utterly career-defining performance alongside the likes of One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest for me. But look, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Movie Burner News, because I haven't got much more to add. I would just like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we will be back tomorrow with the Movie Burner blog rundown.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.